Hello, my name's Grace. I'm minister in the Church of England. I'm filming today from my home, and these days I have a very secure life and very little fear of losing the roof over my head, but that wasn't always the case. When I was 14, I lived in a hostel for the homeless with my mum and my younger sister, having spent a night in a women's refuge. It was a very difficult time. Initially, the three of us were all in one room without an ensuite, and I really craved my privacy and my space as a teenager. There were no cooking facilities in our room, just a small kettle, so we used to live off things like noodles and cuppa soups. Even taking a bath was stressful because I never knew who was on the other side of the door or whether they'd try and come in. The hostel was a very noisy place, lots of families, lots of people we didn't know, and after 6 weeks it became so stressful that we actually moved back to where we were living before, which wasn't actually an ideal situation. A few years later, I found myself as a single teenage mum living in local authority housing. I was training to be a nurse at the time and had to live off a very small budget. So this became a cycle for me of payday loans, scrambling around for scraps of food, and hiding from the rent collector who in those days would come to your house to collect the rent. For 3 years, I lived in fear of being evicted and being left out on the streets with my son. Not having a secure roof over your head can have a profound effect on you. Even now, years on, I constantly plan and revise my finances to reassure myself that I'm okay. Not having a secure home means not being able to set roots in a place, become part of a community, and flourish in the ways that we are meant to. As churches, there are many things that we can do to help prevent homelessness and help prevent people from falling into the kind of situations that I found myself in. We are in every community to serve and support, and we can do this in many ways. Having a better understanding of domestic abuse, that we can identify and support people who may be experiencing such abuse, both by directing to appropriate services or by providing much needed pastoral care, an ear to listen, are so important. Looking to see how we can help provide accommodation that feels more like a home than a hostel, either by supporting charities that are local or national, or for instance, if we know somebody in our church who is living in a hostel or in a place like that, seeing how we can help make that place feel more like home or help them secure more permanent accommodation. Giving much needed space for families to gather, even places for young children to do their homework in peace and quiet and security, are all ways in which churches can practically support people. When I was a young single mum, I really wanted to go to church, but I didn't go because I was worried that I would be judged. When I did finally start attending, I found a place of warmth and welcome, and it saddened me that I hadn't gone earlier, as I think a church family would have really supported me through those difficult times. Many of our churches are welcoming places, but people on the outside sometimes don't know this. We need to be much more proactive in going out to support people, being the church in the world, so that those who need us most can find us and feel able to approach us. When I was struggling and worrying about eviction, I received very little support, despite the fact that I was actively studying for a career that would have given me a secure income. There were many times when it would have been much easier just to have given up. Prevention of homelessness needs a long-term vision. A vision that enables and supports people to access training and education so that in the long term they can stand on their own 2 feet. Provision of decent and affordable childcare that really does fit around the hours of training and work is really, really important. Essentially though, what helped me get through those difficult times was the support that I received from my friends who kept me going. As churches, we could be that support. To quote St. Teresa of Avila, this is one way in which we can be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world. In John 15, Jesus says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me, and I in them, bear much fruit." Having roots and connections in our lives helps us to thrive as individuals. When you have a secure home, you can begin to build a life. Homelessness is a complex issue, but there are some real ways in which we as individuals and as part of churches can help others who may feel unconnected to set roots and to build so that fruit grows in abundance to be enjoyed by all our communities. A good place to start is by asking ourselves, what will you do to end homelessness?